The day was November 19th, 1863. Our President Abraham Lincoln delivered a 2-minute speech that has yet to be forgotten to dedicate land to the fallen soldiers of the Battle of Gettysburg. The battle had just ravaged a field near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, leaving tens of thousands both wounded and dead from both sides. President Lincoln gave this speech to let the public know that while the land could be set aside by words, the blood of the men who died there was what really made it sacred. The purpose of this speech was certainly met. Lincoln wanted to show that he was striving for unity and equality. He wanted to show that the war was testing the nation's strength to a point that it had never been pushed to before. And he wanted to honor the fallen that had made a sacrifice that most people couldn't even begin to comprehend. Lincoln began this speech by acknowledging where we came from. Our forefathers had created a nation 87 years prior that was built on equality. The nation was dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Lincoln noted that the original intentions of these founding fathers were being tested. We were no longer united. The land was sacred because of the loss of the people fighting for that unity. We couldn't let the United States of America fall apart simply because we were arguing over a subject that probably shouldn't have been argued about in the first place. So besides this main message of coming together as a united nation, Lincoln also wanted to push the simple thing that we were all equal. Color of skin didn't matter. We were all human. It is what we were based on, and it is what those dead were fighting for. The war was testing, as Lincoln put it, whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated could long endure. As online writer Edwin Dearborn said, we still endure difficult things today, and we look to Lincoln's words to help us get through it. As we have complicated issues, and as they had complicated issues back then, Lincoln kind of reflected that in the language he chose to use, such as when he said, "We cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground." Those are just basically fancy ways of saying that we couldn't do what had already been done. Even though the language was slightly complicated, the message was perfectly clear. We had to remain united. His words carry an emotion of boldness and pride, but also a little bit of nostalgia, looking back on what our nation had been and how far we had come in the wrong direction. However, it's also slightly haunting, using the dead sort of as objects to push the point of what we were fighting for and why we needed to carry on. These eloquent words were shown in a chronological strategy, going from where we had started from with our founding fathers to what Lincoln wanted for the future. As I read this speech, I felt pride for my nation. I realized the importance of us staying united and equal today. And I thought about the different struggles that we were experiencing in today's society, just the same that they were experiencing back then. As a speaker, I definitely enjoyed the introduction of a broad topic with Lincoln's detailed explanations of why that topic was so important. As I've read the textbook for this class, I noticed some key things from chapters 1, 2, and 3 that Lincoln definitely showed in his speech. He gave a clear message, and he spoke directly to the audience, how the audience needed to be spoken to. He was mostly speaking to Union sympathizers, but had phrases that would definitely reach Confederate hearts. His opinions were there, but he wasn't overly biased. This made him an ethical speaker, but he definitely knew how to stand up for what he believed in. The Battle of Gettysburg was an event in history that shook the nation, and the speakers that were consecrating the cemetery had to find the right words to say. However, in the end, Lincoln's 2-minute speech is more remembered than the 2-hour speech that preceded it. Lincoln knew what the nation needed to hear, and the nation showed that they heard. President Abraham Lincoln drove home the point that his words couldn't do what that blood had already done. The impact left by Lincoln's words inspired the people of today's nation to continue to try to be one of the people, by the people, for the people, even during the most trying of times. Thank you.